Have you ever looked at a couple and wondered if their intense connection was just random luck? Or could it be something else? Could it actually be manufactured? Well, today we're diving deep into a fascinating and frankly kind of unsettling playbook on the dark psychology of obsession. We're talking about a set of techniques designed to literally hijack the human brain's reward system. So let's deconstruct the formula. Just imagine this for a second. Someone who literally cannot stop thinking about you. The first thing they do in the morning is check their phone for your name. They feel this pit in their stomach, this real anxiety when you're not around. The source material we're looking at kicks off with this incredibly powerful idea that this state of complete, total obsession can be created. And the crazy part, it can happen even when it feels like you've barely lifted a finger. So what's the deal? Is a connection like that just a 1 in a million stroke of luck, like catching lightning in a bottle? Or could it be the result of a very deliberate, very calculated psychological strategy? Well, that's exactly what this explainer is about. We're breaking down the techniques that are said to engineer this exact outcome. Okay, so we're about to deconstruct a set of psychological moves used by, and this is a quote from the source, the world's top manipulators and seducers. The entire idea here is to bypass rational thought and directly target a person's neural reward pathways. And there's a little word of caution that comes with this stuff. Once you learn it, you can't really unlearn it. First up, let's talk about creating dependency. This whole section is about building what you could call an addiction engine. And it's not powered by stability or consistency. Oh no, it's powered entirely by unpredictability. The absolute cornerstone of this whole idea is something called intermittent reinforcement. The best way to think about it is a slot machine in a casino, right? You don't win every time you pull the lever, and you definitely don't win on a predictable schedule. It's the maybe, the possibility of a win on the next pull that keeps you glued to that machine. That uncertainty is exactly what creates addiction, flooding your brain with dopamine just in anticipation of a reward that might not even come. And this slide right here shows you exactly how that casino principle gets applied to people. On the left, you've got the predictable partner, the steady heart. They're always available, always affectionate, super reliable. But on the right, you have the human slot machine. Sometimes they're there for you, other times, not so much. The affection comes in random, unpredictable bursts. And according to this theory, the brain gets totally hooked on that what will I get today feeling, constantly chasing that next hit of affection. Building right on top of that is the emotional roller coaster. This is about manufacturing intense emotional swings. It's the whiplash you get from being treated like the most important person in the world one moment and then being completely ignored the next. That kind of volatility is meant to literally wire a person's brain to crave you, almost like a drug. So how is it done? Well, it's broken down into this really simple, deliberate 3-step cycle. First, you create an extreme emotional high. You shower them with praise, attention, make them feel incredible. Then, step 2, you introduce a sudden, jarring low. You become distant, cold, unavailable. And the final step, you just repeat it over and over, creating this powerful pattern of dependency. All right, our next section builds on this by exploring how you can manufacture your own value. These next few techniques are all about creating this deep sense of intrigue by making yourself seem like a limited, really precious resource. I mean, this is a classic, right? It's a fundamental rule of influence. We just want what we can't easily have. It doesn't matter if it's a limited edition pair of sneakers or someone's time and attention. The second we perceive that something is scarce, its value automatically skyrockets in our minds. And this slide shows you exactly how it's applied. As you can see, this isn't just about being busy, it's a full-on strategy. Being less available, taking a while to reply to texts, maybe even canceling plans once in a while, or even just disappearing for a little bit. All of these actions are designed to make your presence feel rare, and because of that, way more valuable. And going hand in hand with scarcity is what the source calls the mystery veil. The idea is so simple. Just don't be an open book. See, if someone feels like they've got you all figured out, their mind can just relax and move on. But if you're a puzzle, well, then you start to occupy their thoughts. And the execution is a real slow burn. You reveal parts of yourself, sure, but you do it layer by layer, and you always hold something back. This keeps the other person constantly guessing, analyzing, trying to connect the dots. Their mind goes into overdrive, trying to decode you. And that mental real estate you're occupying, well, that's the foundation of obsession. You're basically living rent-free in their head. Okay, so now we're getting into techniques that are even more direct. These are active mind games, and they're aimed squarely at creating subconscious connection and confusion. So, subtle mirroring is all about creating this unconscious feeling of, hey, we're the same. You subtly, and I mean subtly, copy their gestures, their posture, maybe even the tone of their voice. This builds this really deep, unspoken rapport. But the dark psychology twist is the break. Out of nowhere, you just stop. This creates a subconscious jolt, a confusion that they don't understand, and they might end up misinterpreting that feeling as attraction. And the process here is everything. The first step, the mirroring, creates this comfortable subconscious sync between you two. But it's that second step, the abrupt break, that really triggers the obsession. The third step is entirely passive on your part. You just stop. And you let their minds scramble, trying to figure out what just happened, and desperately trying to get that good feeling, that connection, back. You know why cliffhangers in TV shows drive you absolutely crazy? Well, there's actually a name for that. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains are literally hardwired to seek closure. We have an incredibly powerful memory for things that are left unfinished, for open loops. And this effect can be, well, weaponized in conversation. You start telling a really juicy story, or you open up a deep personal conversation, then right at the most interesting part, you stop. You go, oh, you know what, I gotta run, I'll tell you the rest later. By leaving that conversational loop open, you essentially plant a thought about yourself in their mind that they can't get rid of until they get that closure from you. Okay, now for the final technique from the source, this one is framed as the most dangerous, the most powerful of them all. This is the finishing move in this whole psychological playbook. It's actually described as a dark version of NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. That's basically the study of how our thoughts, our language, and our behaviors are all connected. So right away, you know we're moving into a technique that aims to directly condition an emotional response. It's called emotional anchoring. The goal is to link a very specific, unique physical touch to a peak positive emotion. The theory is, if you do this enough times, that specific touch will eventually trigger that powerful emotion all by itself, on command. So here's the breakdown. Step 1, you have to wait for a moment of intense, genuine, positive emotion, like when they're laughing uncontrollably at a joke or feeling pure joy. Step 2, at the absolute peak of that emotion, you apply a consistent, unique, and light touch. Maybe it's a light touch on their shoulder or the back of their arm. Step 3, you repeat this over time. And eventually, just that simple touch is supposed to bring back that whole flood of positive feelings, making them associate you with feeling amazing. And that completes the playbook. There you have it, the 7 pillars laid out in the source material, each one designed to build on the last. You've got the addictive pull of intermittent reinforcement and the emotional roller coaster, the intrigue of the scarcity principle and the mystery veil, and then the direct subconscious triggers of mirroring, the Zeigarnik effect, and finally, emotional anchoring. So this all brings us to a really crucial final question. Because look, understanding these techniques is one thing, but actually using them is something else entirely. As we've just seen, these are incredibly powerful tools of psychological influence. So the question we're left with is this: where do you draw the line between charming influence and just outright manipulation?